Bird watching with Hiroyoshi. So, Hiroyoshi and I became friends after I moved to Haseda in 1986. Our friendship continued until 2015 or so. We both liked to drink alcohol, and we also enjoyed the outdoors. He would fish, and I would birdwatch. With that, we went camping on overnighters, I would say 10 or 12 times. There were a couple of destinations not far from home, maybe 3 hours by car, to where we would go and enjoy the outdoors, he by fishing and I by bird watching. We usually shared the tent. Two favorite spots were in Tochigi Prefecture. One is Mount Akagi in the south, and the other is Okuniko in the north. Okuniko is one of my favorite places in Japan. I'll bet you that I have been there more than 20 times, along with thousands and thousands of tourists, guests, most of them locals. Sometimes by car we went, and sometimes by train, and then bus. Sometimes with family, and sometimes with friends, and sometimes just alone. One such location was Nikko. Nikko's main attractions are the historical sites, including a bridge and a temple. There is also a graveyard of prominent figures from the Japanese warring period. There's a drive up the Irohazaka, which is a series of switchbacks from Nikko City up the mountain. From there, it takes you to Lake Chuzenji and Keigon Taki, or Keigon Falls. From there, you continue higher to the Ryuzu Falls, then to Senjogahara marshlands. At the end of these marshlands is the Yu waterfall. Up above is the source of all this, the Yu Lake, which is fed by sulfur hot springs. On a side note, many sixth graders from around Kanto area take the excursion up there and spend the weekend with classmates as their final time together before entering junior high school. Needless to say, many Japanese tourists and occasionally foreigners visit here too. As I said, I have visited the area more than 20 times, 5 or 6 times with Hiroyoshi, including his family. And to be clear, our trips did not always end well. I drank too much at times, maybe many times, would make a fool of myself and occasionally spoil the trip for him. There was one time when the two of us went there in his car to Okuniko. We stayed at the Sanbon Matsu parking area. We got there late. He was so fed up with me and my antics that he didn't let me sleep in the car. I stayed next to the car on the ground in my sleeping bag. And it was terribly cold. And now that I think of it, I remembered that this was the time that on our return home, and we finally did arrive back in Omiya, he made me take the train home instead of taking me straight to my house as usual. On another occasion, next to our campsite was a small river. Unfortunately, the river was swollen by recent rains and was flowing really fast. I would say dangerously fast. I got as close as I dared and watched it. I suspect Hiroyoshi was hoping that I would fall in. Nah, he wouldn't hope that, would he? As there was no fishing to be done the next day, Hiroyoshi decided to take us for a drive through the winding roads of the mountain that night. And he did this without his seatbelt. I think this was a form of defiance or rebellion against authority for him. Hiroyoshi was a fisherman and I wasn't, so I became interested in bird watching. I eventually bought a pair of binoculars. They were 10 magnification instead of the typical 8. They also had a Bure Dome button. That Bure Dome button, when pressed and held, would lock the viewer, thus allowing field of vision to freeze in place. That is, there was no shaking. They cost $1,000, but they were well worth it. If you have the money, I highly recommend them. And I used them a lot back then. Then I put them away for a couple of years. When I brought them out again, the worst thing possible happened. The batteries, which operated the Bure Dome device, had leaked, ruining the binoculars. Of course, I should have taken them out before storing the binoculars away, but you know about woulda, coulda, and shoulda, don't you? Woulda, coulda, and shoulda were 3 brothers, and not one of them was worth a damn. The binoculars were ruined, and that was a shame. But with those binoculars, and with or without Hiroyoshi, I saw a lot of beautiful birds out there in the wild. And another mountain exploring companion was my dentist and his wife. But that is another story. So this story is the end.